Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferriss.
This is Phil Ferriss, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. During each show, we talk to real health and fitness experts solving real problems that you can solve, that will solve solutions for you, and you can apply them in your everyday life. If you're a woman over 40 who has been disappointed or injured by personal trainers in the past and have avoided weight training or working out because of that issue, this episode is for you. If you've tried every diet and failed to keep the weight off, this episode is for you. If you're at the point in your life where you just want to be healthy and strong and avoid the aches and pains and weight gain, this episode is also for you. My guest is Deborah Stern, a certified personal trainer, nutritional counselor, and holistic practitioner with over 25 years of experience. She received her degree in psychology and nutrition from DePaul University. Deborah uses her education and own experience in health, fitness, and nutrition to craft personalized programs for each of her clients. The results her clients achieve are both impressive and personally satisfying. As one client stated, training with Deborah made me feel stronger in my 60s than I was in my 20s. Welcome to the show, Deborah.
Hi, how are you, Phil? It's great to be here.
I'm doing great, and I'm glad you're joining me.
I am too.
I want to start out by talking a little bit about your background, because you base a lot of what you do in your training based on your own experiences and your personal journey in health and fitness. You've had some successes and failures, disappointments, lessons learned. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how that shaped your approach for working with your clients?
Of course. Yeah, you really nailed it, because I definitely have used my own experiences to learn and grow in the health and fitness world. I am going to steal a tagline from one of the television shows with the home improvements, and he once said, his career celebrates and validates his OCD. And I love that, because exactly. And I was like, I got to remember this, because I really believe that my own career really kind of celebrates and validates my own struggles with food and body image, weight gain, strength, all of that. And so I feel just blessed that I found my career that allows me to kind of use some of the struggles and the pain that I went through to learn how to teach women as I age. I just turned 50. I'm going to be 51 in July. I learn as I go, and it's wonderful to be able to take them on the journey with me. A lot of this was in my 20s, I was exercising incorrectly. I was eating incorrectly, even though I was at the gym, almost 2 hours a day. I actually had a personal trainer. I wasn't a personal trainer at the time, but he approached me and he was like, you're in here a lot. You probably should look different and not be so puffy. I thought, wow, okay, here we go. And my response back then was like, wait a minute, I eat fabulous foods because they're all fat-free. And it wasn't until like a few years later, because I just never reached my own personal goals of looking how I wanted to look and feeling strong and building muscle. And so after my own research for about, 2 years exploring nutrition and food, I just realized everything I was doing, especially with my nutrition, was incorrect. because I didn't have the right information. I was reading the, basic women's magazines. I was listening to the fad diets, and those don't work. So I started experimenting on my own self with foods, looking at it totally differently, and also paying attention to how I'm exercising. And that really happened more when I turned 40.
Let me talk a little about you, if I can ask you, Deborah. Yeah. You said you looked at food differently. What was the biggest aha switch in your mind about the way you looked at food?
It's so funny because, I vividly remember this, and this was a long time ago. There were a few things, but really one of them was when I transferred my thought process from food as calories, food as good or bad in terms of like, oh, that's going to make me fat, or that's going to, not give me my, the muscle I want. When I really switched that mindset to food is fuel. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't taste good. That doesn't mean that it can't be satisfying. It just means, here's an example. When I learned what broccoli did for my body, in terms of all of the goodness that it has and, helps fight cancers and helps the body digest its food and just all the wonderful properties, it made it so much more exciting to eat broccoli. And I know people are laughing at this and are going, wait a minute, nobody can get excited about eating broccoli. Well, I did because I understood what it did in my body. Therefore, knowing all the wonderful things it did, it just made it more exciting to eat it. So really looking at food as fuel and how do I eat correctly to make sure that my body has a ton of muscle but loses body fat, but also that this food is giving me energy.
Great insights. Now, Deborah, you mentioned that around 40 that your mind kind of made a shift around exercise. What was
correct?
What was the shift there?
Well, so I had a tendency to over-exercise, which I know most people don't have that issue, but what it did was it made me realize, or actually kind of research, what happens to the female body as it gets older. Because a lot of people used to say, okay, you're over-exercising, you're not going to build your muscle. And I thought, whatever, I don't believe that. Well, once I started researching and said, okay, as I turned 40, maybe I don't feel 40, maybe I can still, go real high intensity, but wait a minute. There is truth to the fact that my body has lived for 40 years. And as I started researching, how do I kind of try and avoid all of the information that I'm hearing that happened to women over 40, that we just gain weight, that our metabolism slows down. And I said, wait a minute, I don't want to accept this. And I'm a why person. So why does our metabolism slow down? And what does that even mean? I mean, I know that I read that all the time, but I don't even think anybody knows. And I have a lot of my own clients that are like, well, they come in and they're like, Deb, my metabolism slowed down. And I'm like, okay, so do you know what that means? And they go, I have no idea. So to me, explaining it, and again, what I learned was that if you're not paying attention as a woman as you get older, you lose so much muscle mass a lot faster. And again, muscle is where fat is burned. So I was gonna explain this later, but I'm gonna go into it because I think this is
Great.
One of the most important things that someone, especially a woman, can hear. So if you can visualize muscle, so let's say it's just, it's the muscle on your arm. We all have muscle, whether we have a lot or a little, we all have muscle. So if you think about just a big round circle, and that's your muscle, if you have body fat on your body, the body fat actually travels into muscle, and that's where fat is burned. So again, if you think about it, there's a circle of muscle, and the fat is around the circle. The fat has to travel into the muscle to get burned. That's where it gets burned. Now, if we don't have enough muscle mass on our body, if that circle is like a little pinpoint, all of the body fat that's around it is just going to hang out, and it's just going to be there, and it's never going to get burned because you need muscle mass in order for the body fat to go in there to get burned. So once I learned this, I thought, okay, how do I save my muscle? How do I build my muscle so that I can just let my body be a fat-burning machine? And one of the things that has been the best tool is a heart rate monitor, because we can exercise, and again, movement and breathing is amazing for the brain, and it's amazing for our heart. Here's the issue. If I have a woman that comes to me and says, Deb, my metabolism slowed down because I don't have enough muscle, I have too much body fat, and I want to burn some of my body fat, there you do have to get your heart rate into a certain place, which is called the fat burning zone, which means you just have to get it high enough in a certain number, and I'm not talking about extreme. This doesn't have to be hard, but you do want to get your heart rate up enough to burn the body fat. A lot of women especially, feel that they can go to the gym and just walk on the treadmill, and that's enough. Now again, walking on a treadmill, if you're doing it correctly, is wonderful for your heart and your brain. But if you come to me and say, Deb, I really want to lose some body fat, how do I do it? Then I'm going to show you the correct way of walking on a treadmill once you have your heart rate monitor, so that you know exactly what number that you want to get to, heart rate, so that your body is burning fat. Because if we stay too low, again, great for the brain, great for the heart, but you're not going to burn the body fat. And if, kind of like I was saying about myself, you go too high in terms of your heart rate getting too high, you tend to, again, the body will shut down because it thinks that it's going to die because it's going too fast, and it will hold on to body fat and burn muscle. So I hope that this is kind of making sense, but that was one of the biggest lessons I learned. And so when I have my clients come to me, I explain the heart rate monitor, and I tell them, listen, I'm not working for the company. I'm not getting any money for this. I really believe in heart rate monitors to make your exercise the most efficient that you can to burn body fat, if that's your goal.
Okay, and I think that, I think it's an important point that you learned, and that for a lot of women, they think of, I got to get cardio, I got to walk, I've got to put in hours in the gym. But then you guys say, what is your purpose? What are you really trying to accomplish when you do that? And if part of your objectives are to burn fat, there are different approaches you need to take to exercising.
Correct.
Now, besides fat loss, what are some of the biggest challenges that your clients come to you for when they're seeking you as a personal trainer or nutritional counselor? What are some of the issues that they have that they're looking for your guidance on?
Okay, so there are a lot, and mostly they will come to me, especially women over 40, and they say, most of my life I've kind of devoted to everybody else, and I've pretty much forgotten about myself and my health and my fitness. And now I feel as though I have a lot of excess weight or body fat. My energy is really low. I just don't feel good. And I feel stiff and I feel a lot of pain. And I don't know what to do. The other issue, too, again, is nobody understands how to eat correctly because there's so much crap out there in the magazines and in the diet world and all of that, that nobody really understands how to eat correctly. And I think, again, those of us that grew up, back in the day when it literally was about how many calories do you eat, what do you weigh on a scale, so much has changed since then in terms of how we, actually learn about the food and the exercise. And what I mean by that is, if you think about how long ago that was, so if, for me, it was, 30 years ago. Within 30 years, they have come out with some incredible new studies about food, body, fat loss, exercise. And if you don't know that, then you're going to kind of stay in a realm that you think, again, I should go to the gym and I've got to really exercise really fast and hard, or I need to just eat iceberg lettuce and cottage cheese all day. These are things, again, that I think we get in our heads, and then it sticks with us. And 30 years later, I'm having, women come to me and say, I just don't feel good, but I don't know how to do this.
So a woman comes to you and presents herself that way, and so they just don't know where to start. What would be the first thing that you tend to do with them to start getting them back on the right track?
So a lot of what I do is really trying to understand each individual, because that's really the key. I'll give you an example. So I have a client, I was actually with her today, and she is turning 64 in July, and when she was turning 60, she gave me the phone call. We talked for the first time. Our phone call, basically, she said to me, I'm turning 60. I used to be really active. I don't feel very good anymore because my energy is very low, and I know I put on a lot of weight, and I used to run, and I want to start running again. And I said to her, okay, I understand that and love that that's what your goal is, but I don't necessarily agree with you turning 60 and starting to run when you haven't been running for years and you haven't been exercising. So let's get together. I want to start from scratch. I want to get to know your body. I want to see how it moves. I want to show you slowly just about how to do your cardio correctly if you're in a gym, or how do you do it when you're not in a gym. So my approach is asking them a lot of questions about what they're doing at this point, what they've done in the past, how are they eating now. I have them write a food log for me, probably for about 4 to 5 days, just based on time of day and maybe brand names of food. None of this is being judged. It's just so that I can understand the individual. Why haven't they exercised in the past, 10 years? What got in the way? And where do you like to be in terms of what do you like to do exercise-wise, so that I can incorporate that into our program versus what do I want them to do. I want to know what they want to do so that I can make it as beneficial for them as possible and efficient.
Okay, so you talked about the food log. So they write down what they've been doing for 4 or 5 days, and then you look at how do you use the food log to inform yourself and also educate them?
Well, it really is about looking at how someone eats during the day. And most of us, like food pyramid-wise, if not in terms of, breads and grains, but if you think of a triangle, most of us, the triangle is really small, it's the point at the top, and then the triangle, the bottom gets really big. So what it is, someone might, give me their food log, and I see for breakfast they had 1 egg, and then they didn't eat again until lunch, and they had a small salad with a little chicken. And then the funniest thing, and not funny, but I laugh with my clients about this, is that when they talk about this, they will say, oh, I was so good all day. I had an egg, and then I had a small salad, and then I came home and I ate everything in the house. So, this is what I can see off the food log. And again, it's never being judged. It's just we laugh about it together. And I go, okay, well, you weren't necessarily good at lunch because you're not eating enough. Now, the other thing that I can see is, are you eating correctly? And many people, again, us women that especially grew up, 20, 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, we were all told that we weren't supposed to eat. We shouldn't eat, and it should be very small amounts of food, and it should be, nobody talked about nutrients. So what I see from the food logs is that people are eating incorrectly, and what I mean by that is no one has explained to them the importance of having protein with each meal. Why does that work? What does that mean? And that, to me, is looking at a food log then and saying, okay, if you're not eating correctly, this is why you don't feel great. This is why your energy levels are so low. This is why you crash and burn at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And this is also why you've been in the gym and you're not seeing any results.
So how do you go about getting people to start eating more protein when that hasn't been part of their standard American diet, if you will?
Okay, so what I do is I explain the whys. And I will explain this because I think it's probably one of the most important things in terms of nutrition. There are 2 main reasons why we want to eat protein, especially women. One of them is, again, that muscle mass. Let's go back to the visual. So you want that circle to be big. That's your muscle. You want muscle in your body so that it can burn body fat. Now, this is kind of a weird visual, but this is how it was explained to me, and so this is how I understood it, and it made a lot of sense. If you put your hands together, like you were praying, if you keep them together like that, now just open your fingertips to the sides. So there's a gap there. This is how I look at muscle. When we work out, what happens is the muscle actually rips. So when you open your fingers to the side, that gap that you see, you want to fill that in. So let's say your hands are your muscle, right? You open your fingers, you see that gap. You want to fill that gap in to make the muscle grow. Again, weird visual, but for me it works, so I hope that you can see what you're doing. So, but the issue is the only thing that can fill that gap in, the only thing is protein. It doesn't mean you have to eat animal protein, but protein has to be eaten in order to fill that gap in and grow your muscle to get that circle to be big so it's bigger than the body fat. and it's on your body, and if you maintain it, your body will burn body fat all day long. So that's one main reason to increase protein. The other one, which is just as important, and I see more wonderful results from this than I can even tell you. If you eat a banana, okay, a banana is a complex carbohydrate, and I know a lot of these words don't make sense to a lot of people, but complex carbohydrate, simple carbohydrate, so we're talking a fruit, a piece of bread, a cracker, oatmeal. When we eat these type of foods, they go in, we eat them, and they get used really fast, and then they're gone. So we might get this surge of energy, but then all of a sudden, bam, we crash, and we're exhausted, and we're starving. Because, again, you eat a banana, it gets used really quickly, and it's gone. Now, if you think of protein, and I always use the analogy, I think of protein, and I'll say it's kind of like a shelf, okay? So let's say you had peanut butter, a good peanut butter without sugar, with your banana. Peanut butter is a source of protein. Almonds a source of protein. Let's say it was, eggs. Protein takes a very long time to digest. Therefore, it stays in the body for a longer period of time. So, the shelf analogy. If you eat peanut butter and you eat a banana together, that peanut butter or source of protein is holding up the banana, which is your energy source, and it's keeping it in your body for a longer period of time. Therefore, your energy source, the banana, is in your body for a long period of time, and your body and mind feel the energy for a longer period of time, and the food is staying in your body for a longer period of time. Therefore, your hunger is totally satiated. So those two reasons, when explained, that's how I learned it. And when I heard it explained that way, I said, oh boy, now I get it. Now, if I choose not to do that, that's fine. But at least I understand it, and I have those tools in my tool belt to use when I need them.
So the bottom line is, as I eat protein, it will increase my muscle mass, which will cause my body to burn fat. And the second part is, it will, if combined with a complex carbohydrate, will stay in my system longer, so I'll be burning fuel longer, and I won't get hungry. Because when you're running out of fuel, your body says, get me some more fuel so I can, get re-energized. So,
Right. The fuel will stay in the body for a longer period of time. And I have a tagline that I make all my clients write down in really big letters. And I say, here's what I want you to do. Every time you put something in your mouth, every time, I want you to ask yourself, where is my protein? And if you can keep that tagline in your head and use it every time you eat something and go, where's my protein, and make sure you have a protein source with that other piece of fruit or slice of bread or oatmeal, I guarantee you are going to feel so much better in terms of energy and not being hungry all the time.
That's a really good, useful tool. Now, I'd like to shift a little bit from the nutrition side to the fitness side. A lot of women over 40 have never done weight training or strength training, either because they've been intimidated by it or they did try it and didn't get results. So how do you introduce your clients to strength training as part of your fitness program?
Well, that's such a great statement, because, and actually my client today, Susan, the one that's turning 64, we had a big discussion about this because I was kind of asking her, and it's so, I feel a lot of, sadness for so many women that are just so intimidated by going into a gym. Not that I feel that they shouldn't be, but for some reason there's just such a stigma attached to gyms for women. And I think it really is true that, again, when a lot of women over 40 go into a gym who have never been in a gym, they don't even make it to the gym because the anxiety of what's to come, or the fear of, oh my God, I'm going to be the most out of shape person there. I might get weird looks from the men in there. There's so many issues that hold women back from going into a gym. I tell them, especially if they call on the phone and they inquire about this, the thing that I recommend before they even go into a gym is that I come to their home and I just go through very slowly basic exercises, again, getting to know their body, making them comfortable, and making them see that they are stronger than they think they are, and that they actually can do so many of these activities that they didn't think they could do because, again, whether it's a self-esteem issue or whether they've been to a gym before and been totally intimidated, it's a wonderful way to start at home. And even if it's just 1 or 2 sessions, to get them to understand how to feel their body and, oh, wait a minute, I can exercise and I can walk up the stairs correctly. And, just again, showing them that they can exercise and it's not intimidating, because the belief is I have to go really hard and heavy and really fast and I have to sweat a lot. That's not true. It's hard work, but it does not have to be hard. And I think the other thing is, one of my other clients, yesterday, again, we were talking about this, and she said for her, it was not comparing herself to all the other women in the gym. She said, once I came to you and I knew that I had someone that could teach me correctly, she said, I realized that I was watching everybody else in the gym, and I thought, oh, I better walk really, really fast like that person, or I better go really, really fast on the stairs like that person, or I have to lift really, really heavy weights like that person. And she said, and once you explained to me the correct ways to exercise, and I realized I didn't have to go so hard and heavy, you told me to slow down, you told me don't go so heavy with the weights, it made all the difference. So I hope I answered the question. I think I veered off a little bit, so let me know if I...
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, because, especially if, someone that goes into a gym and doesn't know what to do, it can be intimidating. You see benches, you see machines, you see, and it's like, where do I start? What's the, and it can be overwhelming. And then the fact is, right, what is correct? And but if they go in there and they already know what they need to know and what that feels like to do an exercise properly, they can go in and do it and get a sense of accomplishment. And if they do that, they're going to have the confidence to go back and do it again. And that's it's not just going to the gym once. It's going on a regular basis.
Right, and I think that's the other thing, too, is so many women come to me and they go, okay, so I've been coming to the gym for a year or 2 years, but I'm so intimidated that all I do is walk on the treadmill. And they all know that there's an importance to strength training. A lot of them don't really understand why, but they know that they should be doing it. But they don't, because, again, there's an intimidation factor, and they also don't know what they're doing. And I respect anyone who does not start lifting weights if they don't know what they're doing, because, again, there's so many injuries that can happen. But the point of someone going to a gym is to be able to use the different equipment. And I just, again, the majority of the women that I have sat down with, they say, I know I should be doing more, but I don't know what to do, so all I do is walk on the treadmill. And the other thing that I talked with my client Susan about today is I was asking her, what kind of things, why did you want to work with me, when we had this phone conversation? And she said, she initially had planned on just doing maybe 1 or 2 sessions with me to learn how to exercise correctly. And when she told me she just wanted to do 1 or 2 sessions, I said, that's great. Of course. I'm more than happy to do that. Because for me, it's not about trying to get someone to buy 10 sessions. I want to give the client what they want, and I want them to be successful. Now, the cool thing is that Susan started with me when she turned 60, and she's now turning 64, so I guess she kind of liked what happened. But it is something that, again, you don't have to have a trainer for that long. But there's nothing that I recommend more than finding a really good personal trainer to make sure that you understand how you are exercising and making sure that you are doing it correctly. One more example, I had another client the other day. She's a 49-year-old woman, and she came to me and she said, okay, I bought 4 sessions, and I kind of just want to know some things that I can do. I'm moving, and I want to be able to do stuff in my apartment. I said, great. So she said, I've been exercising for a long time. And I said, okay, well, how about you show me what you're doing so that I can see if you're doing it correctly, and then we can kind of go from there. So she got a ball, and she was laying on the floor, and she had her feet on the ball, and she just kind of started, flailing her feet a little bit and her legs. And I said, okay. I said, so why do you do this? And she looked at me, and she paused, and she said, I don't know. And we both cracked up, and there were about 5 different things that she's been doing for about, 5 years now. Probably not even that long, but again, that were going to injure her body beyond belief if she kept doing them. And each exercise I said, so where are you feeling this? I don't know. Okay, why are you doing that? Not sure. So we both, again, we cracked up about it, and it was just wonderful to be able to then show her what to do correctly and say, where are you feeling it? And she goes, oh, I'm feeling it in my butt. Wonderful. Where are you feeling this? Oh, in my shoulders. Great. So that you can understand, again, how to feel the exercise and do it correctly.
I think that's really good advice. Now, if there's a lot of our listeners that don't live in the Chicago area, is there some specific guidelines you could give them for selecting a personal trainer that will be right for them?
Yes, great question. One of the things that I actually have started doing is being the quote-unquote middleman. And I tell people, and I'm, advertising it, that if anybody wants to start with a personal trainer but doesn't understand what questions to ask, how to kind of feel out the trainer, I will do this for them anywhere around the world, because now I have access to any area, any bios or even through Facebook, things like that. So that's one way that I've also kind of expanded this to say, if you're intimidated by making the phone call or you don't know what to ask, I will definitely be the middleman if that's something that's, of interest. If not, what I would do is I would ask, number one, how many years experience do they have? Number two, do they have any clients that would be willing to email with them or talk on the phone with them so that they can kind of explain what they're looking for and the client can tell them their experience? That's the best way to really understand. I have a lot of testimonials, but I understand some people feel like, oh, she probably just told them to write that, which is not true. But again, I understand that. So I tell anyone who might be skeptical, listen, you are more than welcome to email my clients, the ones that are willing to email you back, and ask them any question you want. The other thing is making sure that you like the personality of the trainer. This is more about you choosing them than them choosing you. So you have to remember that this relationship between trainer and client is very close. And, I sometimes see my clients more than I see my friends. And it's a wonderful relationship. So you have to make sure personality-wise, and you can kind of feel that out on the phone. And if not, then meet with them in person. I always give a free initial session because I tell them, you have to like me. You have to like who I am. You have to like my style of training. And if not, I totally understand. But that is my way of allowing them to make the decision. The other thing, too, is, again, that the trainer, this is their career. This is their passion. This is not just a side job. This is not just a way for them to get through college or to, get their acting job. Not to say, I'm not saying that any trainer that is doing that is bad or wrong. But I do believe if you know that this is that trainer's career and passion, it makes a difference. And if they are trying to sell you a package of 20 sessions or 10 sessions right away, that's a huge red flag.
Great. Well, that's I think really sound advice so that people make informed decisions, because you are making a commitment of your time, but more importantly of your body.
Correct.
And so that I think the guidelines you gave would apply to anyone. Now, if people want to get in contact with you to learn more about your services and learn more about you, where should they go, Deborah?
Sure. There are a few different ways that they can kind of look me up and find me. One is my website, which is Footprint for Life, not footprint, but Footprint for Life, and that's footprintforlife.com. You can also, if you're on Facebook, I do have a Facebook page, which is just Footprint for Life. I did start a blog, which is called Deb Approved, and it's .blogspot.com, and that you might be able to get more of an idea of my nutritional guidance and counseling. And they are more than happy to email me, and that would be at footprintforlife@gmail.com.
Well, that's great. Well, Deborah, I thank you so much for sharing your information, your tips, your visuals, which were very helpful, at least for me, and also your story about your journey in health and fitness. And I know that you're very passionate and dedicated to your clients, and I want to thank you for sharing that information on the show today.
Well, I thank you so much. My passion is to help, so I hope that anybody feels free to ask me questions, but I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Great. Well, have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.